So to finish the hat, you want to put a ribbon around the outside and maybe a decoration like a feather, or if you want to do more decorative, you could have flowers and feathers and other accoutrement. But this one I'm going to keep pretty simple, and I've created this little feather bundle which has grosgrain around the bottom that I stitched and finished, and I had also tacked the feathers together so that they won't come out. And I just wanted to lay my decorative ribbon on the outside to see, you know, which direction I wanted to go in, and it's just currently pinned on. So I'm going to take that off because we still have to finish the inside. Okay, so if I flip it over, what I want to do is sew a grosgrain ribbon right on the edge of the hat where it goes from being on the inside to the brim. And this is a sweatband to protect the hat and to also keep the head size circle the same. So what I'm going to do to start this stitch is I want to start in the very back. So I have my ribbon that's overlapped here, which is telling me that that's the center back. And I want to do the same thing with this inside sweatband ribbon. So I'm going to have it start a little bit to the side of the center. And what I want to do is a back stitch. So remember, a back stitch is going to go forward one stitch, back one stitch. So I'm going to first just anchor my knot through the felt. I'm going to come on the outside. And I'm just going to do on the outside, I'm actually going to do a big stitch. So I'm going to come this way and through, and as I go through, I'm grabbing the very end of the ribbon. Okay, so I'll flip it over. So you see there's a big long stitch this way. When I flip it over, I'm going to just get a little tiny stitch. So I'm just going to go back a little bit and then forward a lot. So the a lot part is the outside, and we want to keep the inside a small little, just a little prick of a stitch so that we don't really see it on the inside. On the outside, this will eventually disappear because we're going to put our decorative ribbon over. Okay, so we won't really see this. And I'm stitching it in black so that you can see it, but typically I would still do a color that would match the hat and disappear. So as I go through the hat, I go back just a little bit on my stitch so you can see that it's overlapped just a tiny bit, and then I go forward one big stitch. And I remember as I go through to just grab the ribbon on the very bottom edge. And if you're not sure, obviously you would flip it the other way. I'm just trying to show you on the outside at this point. Who knows what it looks on the inside right now? Okay, let's look at the inside. So, not too bad. It's mostly invisible. So you're going to continue around the whole inside of the circle till you get back to this point. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. I've done my back stitch, which is actually called in this case a prick stitch because one side has one tiny little prick and the other side has the longer stitch. So now that I've gotten to the center back, I've cut my ribbon and I folded this end back, and I'm just gonna whip this folded edge together so that it's just connected. And you try to do this as best you can, creating a straight line with the fold. And when you get to the end, you're just going to tie the knot right at the edge of this, where the two pieces of the ribbon meet. I may whip this all the way across so that it finishes here. And then I can actually tie my knot on the inside here of this piece of ribbon. So I'm just going to anchor my knot by stitching through the ribbon. I'm just doing this one layer so it won't show, and then I put the needle through the loop and pull, and then one more time. And that's it. Now for the outside ribbon, you want it to end on the side of the hat, so not in the center back anymore. We want it to end on the side, and what you could do is create a decorative kind of ribbon bow, which you'll often see in men's hats. So right now I've got this ribbon edge folded over, and I want to make sure the ribbon is tight enough around the base of the hat. That way you don't really have to stitch it all the way around. You just have to make sure it's snug to the hat, and then it won't fall off. And I'm gonna attach it down here at the base, and I have extra ribbon, okay, which I'll probably create the bow that I want. And that's just, you fold it over on itself a couple times, and then you place another or half of the ribbon across like that to create your bow, and then I'm gonna tack it on. Okay, so I pinned this ribbon on, and I'm just gonna tack it at the base and going up along this edge here. Just want it to kind of hold it on briefly, and I'm tacking it through the felt. And then once we get to the top, I'm going to wrap this other edge around and fold it back. Okay, so I have it folded back here, and I'll put the pin back on. And then what I'm going to do is do a slip stitch going down this edge so that it's not visible anymore. And I just want to work my needle from where it is over to this fold line. Okay. And then I'm going to do slip stitch. So I'll go on the back piece of ribbon, and then across the fold on the front piece of the ribbon. And then when I get to the bottom, I can tie a knot, and then I'll work on my bow. Now for the bow, I have this piece that I've folded over and stitched through the middle. And I'm gonna place it on top of this ribbon on the hat. But first I wanna create a piece that goes up and over the middle. Okay, so it won't matter that we see the stitching. I'm going to cover it. And I'll tack the center in the center back of this bow first. And just whipping it on and making sure not to go through all the layers. I want the outside to not show these stitches. So I'm just kind of whipping through a couple of these layers along this edge. And then once I have that down, I'll finish it and tie my knot. And then I'm gonna place it onto the hat and have part of this ribbon tuck inside the band. Okay, so I don't need all this extra piece. I just need enough to go back down. So I'm gonna cut about, I don't know, about 1 inch of the material. So I'm leaving about 1 inch for the fold. And then I have my thread here. Okay. And I will eventually tack this ribbon on. So why don't I go ahead and pin it so it doesn't move. I'll pin it there. And then I want this to come and finish on the inside. Actually, it's a little too long, so I'll make it a little shorter. I'm gonna tack each of the corners of the bow and maybe even the center of it just to hold it in place, and I'm gonna make sure it's in a couple spots going all the way through the felt. Okay, so that's the final hat, and I'm just going to put that little last touch with a feather, and there you have it.